It's a pleasure to be back on FreightWaves. This is Ben Gordon with Cambridge Capital, and it's my privilege to have the opportunity to talk with my longtime friend and newly minted partner, operating partner here at Cambridge Capital, Essa Al-Saleh. So this is an opportunity for us to talk about what's new and exciting in logistics and technology, and to share our thoughts as to what we're seeing and doing and what we're fired up about. So first of all, Essa, great to join you and have an opportunity to chat together on FreightWaves. You and I have had a 16-year journey dating back to those fateful early days in Kuwait when you were building Agility from its humble roots as a small one-country company into what is today a $5 billion public powerhouse across over 100 countries. So I guess maybe a good place to start is let's talk about your journey. First of all, what led you to Agility, and second of all, what were some of the high points?
Well, Ben, it's great to see you, and thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation with you and to be a partner with you at Cambridge Capital. I'm looking forward to the next 22-year journey that to embark on with you. So basically, how do I explain 22 years in a few minutes, right? It's been an opportunity of a lifetime that since the day I joined Agility 22 years ago, where it happened by chance. I was visiting my Agility at the time, and they had just taken over the company, and by coincidence, I was showing some friends around the business, and by luck, I was offered an opportunity there, and I took it immediately because, first of all, I had no clue what logistics was all about. So I said, this is a great opportunity to get out of my comfort zone and do something new. But the journey's been an incredible 22, exhilarating. As you can imagine, there's been lots of ups and downs, but overall, the results is taking a company from one country operation, $150 million of revenue, basically, to a $5 billion business with a global network operating on a single platform. So it's been an exciting journey. And I get asked a lot of questions. One of the key questions is how do you do it? How did you do it? And it's always a great question, but it's hard to boil down into very simple terms. But I guess if I were to attempt to do that, I'd probably boil it down to probably three things, right? Finding a great team to work with that have an agile mindset, a focus on what I would say. Number two is a focus on the what you want to do and the how you want to do it and how to go about doing it. And what does that mean? In the what, you make your choices on what markets, services, products, solutions, and the how is kind of the values, the culture, the disciplines, the execution, the rhythms and rigor that I like to talk about. And finally, what do you need to be successful is a little bit of luck also along the way. So I look forward to the next journey, as I said, with you, Ben, and pursuing and helping create great, and investing in great new companies.
Great. Essa, thank you for sharing your story. So naturally, a logical question asked. You're a young guy, even though you're older than me, and you've got lots of opportunity in your next chapter. So what made you decide to make the move from Agility to Cambridge?
Well, as you know, Ben, you and I go back a long time, 16 plus years, I think. And it's been an incredible, and you've been an incredible part of our journey at Agility, helped us form the foundation to which we expanded the business, right, through the M&A strategy that we put in place together. And I think that partnership or that relationship is a key part of partnering up with you again. But I think also in that sense, as I said, it's probably, as part of being successful, you want to work with great people, and that's one of the things I like about Cambridge Capital and the great team that you assembled and the track record that you have. So that's a big part of joining, but also importantly for me as I look to the next phase of my interest, right, is I want to work in supporting companies to grow and develop and expand be successful. And there's nothing like the journey to success, right? With all the ups and downs along the way. And maybe on that note, Ben, maybe I could ask you a question, right? What are some of the things that you're seeing? What are some of the key trends in our industry from a capital perspective, from a principal perspective?
Sure. It's funny when you and I first met 16 years ago, and you were building Agility, and I was building our investment bank, BGSA. Totally different world in supply chain. First of all, a lot of people didn't even know what the word supply chain meant. Uh, if you think about it, I remember it was controversial because CLM changed its name from the Council of Logistics Management to CSCMP, Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, and the reaction a lot of people said was, why and what does that mean? And if you think about it, now everybody knows what supply chain means. Supply chain has become the lingua franca, or even the heartbeat for the world economy. And it's amazing how in the first 2 months of COVID, we saw a growth rate that was the equivalent of 2 years of history of growth in penetration of e-commerce fulfillment and logistics, meaning the growth opportunities have just absolutely exploded. So it, of course, has been a horrible 6 months of dealing with the pandemic in terms of the loss of life and tragedy, but it's been a tremendous catalyst for growth when it comes to supply chain. So for me, one huge theme that we see as investors at Cambridge Capital is the growth in e-commerce and the logistics opportunities that engenders. And that has several offshoots. One is last mile. And we've been fortunate to invest in some great last mile companies. Grand Junction 5 years ago, which was really e-commerce enabled logistics to handle the last mile for retailers. Walmart, Target, Home Depot, of course. The team at Target ended up buying Grand Junction because they were so excited about it. Bring, the e-commerce and last mile powerhouse that's continued to ramp up, that we've been fortunate to invest over $20 million into over the course of their growth. And they've doubled or more than doubled every year for the last 4 years. Again, because they're helping people compete in terms of the supply chains that e-commerce enables. E-commerce fulfillment, another great opportunity. Automation throughout the supply chain. We've, of course, invested in Green Screens, the company that is helping to automate parts of the brokerage process and using dynamic pricing to help companies do a better job on a predictive basis of generating rating engines. So I think this intersection of technology and logistics is really exciting, and it's the sort of trend that's been there for a long time. I mean, we've seen it for really over 20 years, but the acceleration in the last 6 months has really been unbelievable. And so I think for us at Cambridge, as folks that like to invest in growth, in outstanding companies in protected areas of supply chain, there is a lot to do. We've closed on 3 deals, as you know, in the last 4 months, and hopefully we'll continue to grow at that pace. So that's what I'm excited about. How about you? What are you excited about? And you obviously see the same opportunity. What other themes or areas seem exciting to you?
I mean, you touched upon some very important considerations, and given my experience over the years, as companies in our space, in order for them to remain relevant, right, and sustain themselves over the years, they need to absolutely drive continuous improvement and innovation. And the examples you gave are really interesting examples of innovation and continuous improvement and development of how to deliver on the supply chain, right? Whether it's last mile or automation, or in some cases maybe there's some consolidation activities, right? So all these themes and trends that you talked about, it, plus I'm sure there's a couple more, were what I had to live through over the past 22 years. And in order to do that, you have to put the team, as we talked about. You have to drive the routines and the routines and rhythms and rigors of the business and execute, while also investing in the future. And that's why I'm excited to be part of this journey now, where I can really focus on a variety of companies where we can look to and invest in, whether it's last mile, whether it is, as we like to talk about, what are some of the big trend in technology in terms of automation, improving connectivity, innovating in the supply chain, and helping improve decision making, right, and driving data into the supply chain. These are some of the things that I think I'm excited to look at, and there's a tremendous amount of talent and people out there who are creating, right, great ideas, looking to create great businesses. And I think this is where Cambridge Capital and people like us, what we can do is drive the right resources in terms of capital and experience and networks to support them in their journey. And that's what excites me. And this is a great natural step from running a business, a $5 billion business, to now helping the next 5, 10, $100 billion business grow. Companies become the next 5, 10, 20, $100 billion businesses.
That's exciting. Essa, you've been an investor for all your life, right? I mean, think of it, your adult life. Look at in the last 22 years, all the companies you acquired, big ones like Geo Logistics, and then, smaller ones, TransLink and Transoceanic, and various other investments along the way. What's different now investing as a private equity investor as opposed to a corporate?
That's a great question. I think the end goal is the same in terms of we need to create value as a kind of a strategic player like Agility, right? You're looking to create value by building, hiring the right people, investing in the technology, and integrating it into your daily routines. But what I'm excited about is in the PE side, right? We're looking to make these companies invest in some of these companies to help them do the same things, right? But we're coming at it from an investor, but an investor who's focused on the supply chain, right? So our experience, and I think, Ben, you could talk about some of your experiences in starting up your own companies in the past that led you to this journey. So you have that same experience in starting and building companies. So that's exciting, I find. And of all the companies we've looked at so far, right? It's there's so much energy that gets created when we're talking about the same language, and we're finding ways to support them to grow and be much larger and much more exciting businesses. But on that point, Ben, like you mentioned, great ideas that you've invested in, like Bring or like Bring and other companies. Beyond the technology that they provide or the idea they have, what else do you look for in a company before putting money into them?
So we're all about the founder. I mean, and I would say that my DNA and our firm's DNA, it all starts with being a founder, right? So when I started my first company 21 years ago, Threeplex, which today you would call a SaaS TMS, I had the privilege of getting to work with lots of major investors: Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Bank Boston Ventures, CNF, which became Conway, which became XPO. But what I found was there were very few professional investors that really, A, understood supply chain, and B, really were there to help us as the founders and as the management team. And I think the number one thing that we look for at Cambridge is great founders, outstanding management teams, whom we can back and help them in support of their vision. I've had meetings with companies where the founders said to me, "What's your vision?" And my view is, it's not my place. I could have an opinion and a reaction, but ultimately, the founder of the company is the one whose vision is what matters, right? Now, we could agree or disagree with it. We could say, "Hey, that's a great vision, but it's not for us." But it's got to be there. So I think number one, it's great, passionate, talented founders who love what they're doing, have a clear point of view, are open, coachable, willing to admit when one direction isn't working to pivot. But fundamentally, it's founder first. If we don't think the founder's great, the deal isn't going to be for us. If we do think the founder's great, then the second question is he or she going after a big problem. You could be a fantastic founder, but if the market you're targeting is too small, we want to be a part of supporting what businesses that could be billion-dollar businesses, and the niche is too tiny. It's not possible. So you might as well go for a big problem in a big market. And then third is there a deal that makes sense, right? Because maybe it's a fantastic founder, maybe it's a big market, but maybe they don't really need capital, or maybe all they care about is valuation. They don't care at all about the help and the value add, in which case they should just go run an auction and talk to 1,000 people, and the highest nickel wins. What we look for are really situations where there's a deal that makes sense and a partner that wants us to be their partner, because we're generally not buying 100%. We're buying anywhere from 20 to 80%, and therefore we're going to be working together. So if you're going to be working together, A, you've got to like each other. B, the foundation has got to be win-win. And C, both sides have to see that there's something to gain above and beyond just money. So to me, those are the big three: great founder, big market and problem, and a deal that makes sense. And if I look at the opportunities that we've been most successful with, Bring's a great example. Grand Junction's a great example. One of our first investments 9 years ago was XPO. And Brad Jacobs came to us, and, this sounds crazy because now everybody knows Brad Jacobs. But, 10 years ago in supply chain, Brad Jacobs was not someone that many people knew. But Brad said to me, hey, I built 4 companies to over $1 billion in different industries, and my next move is going to be in logistics. I hear you guys might be able to help. and we were, it's good to be smart and it's better to be lucky, right? So we were lucky enough to be in that position, and smart enough to say yes. and then we spent the time. We knew that Brad was a winner, and that was obvious. The market opportunity was a big one because he was trying to consolidate truck brokerage, and of course that expanded beyond that. But that truck brokerage, $200 billion market opportunity. And then in terms of a deal, look, it was backing with a small amount. I mean, Brad put in most of the money in his deal, so fundamentally, maybe piggybacking is a better word than backing, but it was co-investing in support of a fantastic CEO, a fantastic strategy, where we knew there was going to be an opportunity to build something bigger. And look, in hindsight, that $10 million EBITDA company that Brad bought, which is now a $16 billion value public company, amazing success. But it really started with those principles. And for every one deal that we've done, there have been over 100 that we haven't done. So saying no a lot to say yes in those very selective situations has been a big part of our strategy.
So Ben, any particular areas you're focused on to find the next XPO for you?
The next XPO. Well, there may never be a next XPO, but we hope there will be. But our hope for the next XPO, I think it starts with the same 3 principles of an outstanding founder, big market, a deal that makes sense. And then there are some themes that we look for in terms of the businesses. So businesses where there's a huge tailwind, growth, long-term growth that you can see. Trends like e-commerce and the last mile logistics, e-commerce fulfillment, automation, whether it's in the warehouse or outside, consolidation, still a very fragmented industry. Top 50 companies in logistics represent not much more than 50% of the total market. Compare that to banking and finance, where the top 8 control 90%. So consolidation remains a winning theme. Cross-border trade and the automation of that cross-border, of course, that was a big opportunity for agility, and it remains a big opportunity, I think, for us to look at new platforms. And finally, I think picking your spots and stage is important. We've really tried to focus on growth capital and buyouts because we want to be in a situation where we're writing checks that are big enough so that if we do all the work that we tend to do, that it's worth it. And those are 10 to 50 million or more equity checks. So we're really not doing early stage venture, but growth and buyouts. And that brings me to the last part, which is leveraging the operating depth. So our team with operating partners who've built major companies brings something that's different from what your average venture capital or private equity firm has. And Essa, you're a fantastic example of that. The $5 billion business that you yourself have built. So let me turn it around and ask you that. So when you look at the kinds of companies that we see, where do you think are the kinds of areas where you can help more than just with money? Where are some of those strategic and operational levers that you can help founders pull to unlock more growth?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, that's the experience that we you gain over time. But and I think where I think we can help companies is and entrepreneurs who are founders of great companies, right? Is kind of the strategic focus of the business, right? Sometimes as an entrepreneur, you want to do everything at the same time, but the strategic focus that they can do, help them with building a great team that they usually do and usually have in place, and help them to scale up that business. And over the years, right? We're able to support these companies with the networks that we have to connect them to the right customer opportunities, the right infrastructure to support their growth. But it's always a dialogue, right? I think that's also important for us to understand, is that when we go in there, we're also listening to some of their pain points and see how we can help them in addressing their pain points. I think that's an important principle. It's never about telling people what to do. It is a partnership, and this is what I liked about Cambridge Capital: the fact that we look at things as a partner, not necessarily as somebody that's coming in there to change things. Otherwise, we wouldn't have invested, right? We're looking to help them and strengthen their tailwinds to accelerate their growth through financial resources, through the experience and networks that we have, but also to understand their pain points and help them address those pain points to become great companies of the future in our space. So that's exciting. And I find that exciting. I'm looking forward to this journey with you and the team that you've assembled. And one of the things I kind of appreciate as we built at Agility is the fact that at Cambridge Capital there is agility, right? And I think that's an important essence for success. So I'm looking forward to that part. So that's a key point for me.
So Essa, one of the topics that we should talk about is geography. We've talked with lots and lots of great supply chain technology companies, and most of them have global ambitions. You sit in Europe, which makes sense given that you moved there after you acquired the geologistics business, and of course built this global network. And Switzerland was a hub, so it made sense to move there. How does being in Europe help technology companies? And when you see companies, how do you help them expand into new markets?
Well, I mean, that's the great partnership that we're going to have together, right? The ability to be here in Europe allows us to, and the experience that we gain, we have here in Europe is understanding the markets, the priorities, understanding the pain points here in Europe, but not only Europe, Middle East, Asia. These are all experience kind of areas we've built and ran and operated companies there. So that's the exciting part, is providing this geographic breadth that we can bring to bear for our partner companies or companies that we will be investing in. So I'm looking forward to that aspect.
Great, me too. Well, I know we're out of time. Essa, great to have this dialogue. I hope the audience enjoyed it as well. I think it's really unique to have somebody as operationally talented and successful as you making the move to the deal side in a way that gives smaller companies the opportunity to get a little bit of the magic that helped make Agility great, and hopefully the magic that we at Cambridge will be able to contribute to supporting outstanding companies in the supply chain and technology world. So thank you, and look forward to continuing the discussion. And to our friends and audience at FreightWaves, thank you. And if you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to reach out to Essa or me at cambridgecapital.com. Thank you.
Thank you.